So we're going to take one last look at how do you graph systems of linear inequalities. The Britain School of Programming has at least one teacher for every 10 students. The school permits at most 80 students. The school requires at least 3 teachers regardless of student body size. Write a system of statements modeling the relationships between amount of students, our x value, and the amount of teachers, y. So we have a system. Remember, that means 2 or more rules. So our first one is going to be y is greater than or equal to 1/10 x. So we get this because for every 10 students, there's going to be 1 teacher. X is less than or equal to 80 because the school permits at most 80 students. And the school requires at least 3 teachers regardless of student body size. So that's going to be y is greater than or equal to 3. So let's go ahead and graph this system. So here we're going to have students. Students are going to go up by 20 in increments of 20 there. And teachers will go up in increments of 1. So we'll first look at y is greater than or equal to 1/10 x. If we substitute in 0 for x, we get that y would have to be greater than 0. And if we substitute in 10, we get a y value of 1. So if we graph these, we graph the point 0, 0 and 10, 1. Notice that this is going from the origin and outward. So we're going to need to use a ray to represent this, not a segment. Are we going to shade above or below? Well, let's take a look here. We have a greater than or equal to, so that's going to tell us above, so we shade in the pink area above. Let's take a look now at x is less than or equal to 80. So here, notice that we have x is 80. Our y values could be 0 and 1. So here we graph the points 80, 0 and 80, 1. And notice that these go straight up and down. We need another ray here because we'll only have one endpoint. And we don't really want to shade above or below this. We want to shade to the left or the right. So left or right here, we want the x's that are less than 80. That's going to include the values to the left. So we have the left is where we will be shading. And finally, we have y is greater than or equal to 3 here. So if y is 3 all the time, we could have an x value of 0 or an x value of 20. So we can plot the point 0, 3, and 23, and note that this line is also going to be a ray that's going to go straight across. We need to shade either above or below. Because we have a greater than, that's going to tell us to shade above. So we get this part here. And then our overlapping region is going to be this section here that has turned blue. So we would click to shade this region when we practice in Get More Math. Graph the systems of inequalities. Notice here we have all 4 quadrants. We don't have a scenario tied to this. We just have inequalities on a coordinate plane. So here it's okay to have all 4 quadrants, and it's okay to have negative values. So the first inequality we need to have, we can set this up using a table as well. So first we'll let x be 0. When x is 0, y would be 4. Then we can choose to let x be 3. When x is 3, we get -1 plus 4, or 3. So we can graph this using points at 0, 4 and 3, 3. However, here instead of a segment, we want to have a dashed line. This line is dashed because we have y is greater than and there's no or equal to. Are we going to shade above or below? Well, because we have the greater than, we still want to shade above. That's not going to change. So our region for the first inequality is shaded in pink now. Let's take a look at the second inequality. So again, we can make a table of values. We'll let x be 0. When x is 0, y is negative 2. Then if we let x be 1, we get that y is negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2, minus 2, or negative 4. We can then plot 0, negative 2, and 1, negative 4, and connect those using a solid line because we have the less than or equal to part. And the key words here being the or equal to. Then we do need to shade, and our question is to shade above or below. Noting that we have a less than or equal to, that's going to tell us to shade below. So we shade this part in blue. And the overlapping region is our solution. That is where all of the possible points for this scenario exist. So we have greater than, which reminds us to look at those dashed lines. So let's take a look at this system of inequalities. Remember, x equals lines are vertical lines through that point. So here we'll have x is greater than negative 3 and x is greater than negative 2. So for our first one, as long as x is negative 3, we can choose y values. So here's 0 and 1. So we have the points negative 3, 0, negative 3, 1. And we have a line that goes straight up and down through that. So we want to shade to the left or the right. We want to be greater than, so we will shade to the right. Similarly, we can look at our second inequality. So x is greater than negative 2. Again, we have negative 2 for both of our x values. And then our y values, again, could be 0 and 1. We can plot the points negative 2, 0 and negative 2, 1. Again, this is a vertical line that is dashed because we do not have an or equal to. Then we need to shade, and we're asking ourselves, do we need to shade to the left or right? Noting that we have a greater than symbol, we want to shade to the right of this line, this dotted line. So we shade here. So our solution region is that overlapping region, which is everything to the right. So it's this blue rectangular region. What if we have this system of inequalities? So again, we get the x is greater than negative 3, which we just graphed. But now instead of having x is greater than negative 2, let's look at x is less than negative 2. So we have x is less than negative 2. So now what's our solution? Well, now our solution is this blue rectangular region between those two lines because that's where it overlapped. But what if we had x is less than negative 3 and x is greater than negative 2? So now again we're going to go through that x equals negative 3, but this time we want x is less than that, so we're shading to the left. And then we have x is greater than negative 2, so we go through our vertical line through negative 2. We want everything to the right of that because we're greater than, and now we don't have any overlap. In this case, we have no shared points. So this is what we would want to select if we're graphing this in Get More Math.